I'm King Link, and it's the first week of September, so let's do the Humble Choice September 2024 review. We have a lot of major titles I'm excited to talk about, a pretty solid lineup at first glance. I've played these games on a Twitch stream, and I've played a few of these previously on Game Pass or owning them myself. Now we can talk about what the games are like, who is going to enjoy them, and if you should check them out. Let's start with the awesome game already on screen. Take it away, Drax.
Hide behind me! I will protect you! Nobody's hiding!
Marvel's Guardian of the Galaxy. This is how you do a Marvel game. Guardians of the Galaxy was a movie I thought would be Marvel's first big flop. I was wrong. The thing is, the Guardians of the Galaxy Marvel chose are likable, interesting characters with a lot of great dynamics between those characters that allow them to have interesting stories. Rather than them going for the same actors in the movies, this is a different tale, a unique take, and a new look, but it all works. The story is enjoyable, the characters banter pretty effectively, and there are a couple fresh mechanics like the huddle up, and the pacing is just right. I even love how the boss is dealt with at the end of the first chapter. I'll let you discover that yourself. Still, I think if you're not already a Guardians of the Galaxy fan, this probably won't change your mind. The movie isn't required viewing, but does help set up the dynamics of the group faster, though it is well told here. The gameplay is solid, but it's also probably not going to be the deepest experience. Honestly, the biggest problem though is Square said this wasn't a great seller after everyone went crazy for it at launch, so I think this is it. Also, for some reason, sometimes the button prompts were using the PlayStation version, and sometimes they were using the Xbox version. Very strange, though I am using an 8-bit Ultimate, so maybe it's confusing it, but it didn't choose one, it chose both. Pick this up if you like Marvel movies, superheroes, sci-fi, humor, or interesting environments. This won't be for everyone, of course, but if you're even slightly interested, I would recommend this one. It's a ton of fun. Stranded: Alien Dawn. Why won't you do the job? Stranded: Alien Dawn is made by the same company that makes Tropico and Surviving Mars. For Stranded, you have a squad of 4 characters who survive a spaceship crash, and the players will decide actions that the group has to carry out. Players might have their team observe plants or animals and gather resources to build shelters, for instance. It's a typical survival game, including alien monsters that will become very hostile. However, as I played Stranded: Alien Dawn, I got more frustrated. I wanted my characters to observe a plant. Only 1 or 2 characters could do that. Scavenging was limited to a couple characters. For most of my playtime, 2 of my characters kind of sat around being idle, and the game didn't give me a clear guidance on why they were doing nothing. Perhaps it's about the actual skills the characters had, but they should have had enough. There's a huge lack of information, and it became far more frustrating than anything, and before I knew it, I was bum rushed by 16 beetles who killed my team because I hadn't researched weapons yet, and I couldn't defend myself because of that. Now, admittedly, some of this will probably come through viewing all the tutorials and more, but it just doesn't feel intuitive at all to understand what characters are thinking or wanting to do. There's a level of micromanagement here that seems unreasonable for what the game is offering. Pick this up if you're willing to invest a long time into this game. However, the frustration I felt with Stranded are similar to the frustrations I had with Tropico and Surviving Mars after doing the whole tutorial setup. It's probably just what the developer wants to make at this point in their career. There's a solid fan base for this type of game, but honestly I feel like it's pulling teeth to just understand what's going on. Coral Island, Stardew Valley 2.0. Coral Island feels like a massive upgrade to the Stardew Valley game. The graphics are extremely vibrant, it feels like the farm is much larger, and there are no screen transitions between areas. There are 52 townsfolk with at least 165 total NPCs in the game, along with more animals than I could imagine, and a whole new world waiting for the player to explore. However, it's still exactly like Stardew Valley, and while there are some new features like catching bugs, the core gameplay loop is the same. Granted, this is designed for people who have played out Stardew Valley and want something new, but that's also a problem because if you aren't already a fan of Stardew Valley, this won't appeal, and Stardew is a better starting point. As a special treat, I actually asked my daughter, who is a huge fan of Stardew, who has been on the channel before, and she said that she really liked the large map here, which is huge, and there's a lot to do. She's still meeting people on her 9th day in game, though she experiences a little lag when moving between areas. She's also playing on the Xbox Series S, so maybe that's only on that console. She thinks overall is super cute, loves the museum and interacting with the pets, which honestly I did for entirely too long as well. They are just adorable, and Spikerdoo is the best name for a dog ever. Finally, she didn't like fishing, which fair enough. Pick this up if you want more Stardew. I wish I really could go deeper here, but honestly, I think you already know if you're a fan of this type of game and want a new one. This is extremely well designed for the right audience. I will mention some features are still not here. I did see this game in early access, waited for it to be fully released to really judge it, and they delivered on the promise of the series, but still, stuff like co-op is not available yet. It is on the roadmap, so expect this to continue to improve over the years, and hopefully the closing of Humble Games doesn't actually affect that roadmap too much. I don't think it will.
Can I have this?
What, this old piece of...
Spongebob Squarepants The Cosmic Shake, a classic collectathon. Spongebob Squarepants The Cosmic Shape is impressive. You can just tell someone put in all the extra effort in everything on this title. The cutscenes are well animated with a style that is way above what I was expecting. The story is well told, the writing is quite funny, but with it being a collectathon, it's going to be about the levels themselves, and Cosmic Shake has an impressive layout for the first level, and the first true level as well as a funny concept for both of them. However, there are still some issues I ran into. I saw 3 different times that the player was riding a horse. All 3 of them had a very rough transition between the horse gameplay and the main gameplay, making me think I failed each time in the cutscene. I didn't, but it just wasn't smooth. Also, sometimes the player will be confused about what is expected of them, but not too often. The controls are smooth, and it's more of a question of what is possible. One thing I want to bring up, though, is the voice cast. The entire cast is back to my knowledge, and it brings me back to the original cartoon. I do want to call out Bill Fagerback. His line delivery as Patrick makes me laugh so many times in this game. It was great. Pick this up if you're a fan of SpongeBob or just like a good collectathon. The level design here is great, the characters are their classic self, and the story here is compelling. It feels like a large-scale episode, and that's what you'd want in a SpongeBob game. This was a very pleasant surprise.
These are our friends, Robin and Robert. All right, now let's hear it. Why were you looking for me?
Lost Eidolon, a tactical battle game. Lost Eidolon is a tactical RPG. Players will move their units and then allow the enemies to move themselves. With the option for permadeath and more, it really reminds me a lot of Fire Emblem and Symphony of War, only without the anime style. There's a weapon swap system, and the armor the opponent wears matters more than the weapon that they're wielding, so for heavy armor, for instance, you might want to use an axe. Unfortunately, so far though, the game is pretty straightforward, just attack away. Combine your attacks with others to overtake one enemy at a time, for instance, and you pretty much win. Eventually, you start getting magic that will heal your party, and I'm assuming the camp system mentioned a few times will be right around the corner, but haven't seen that yet. However, Lost Eidolons also feels a little weak. The game has good lip syncing for the characters, but honestly not a ton of animation in-game, so the characters feel static while they talk. Outside of battle though, characters talk in a group, but it looks weird seeing only one character on the screen talking at a time, where it really should have been a cutscene showing all the 4 characters looking at each other as they talk. I also hope the game is a little more tactical eventually. At the current time, like I said, it's pretty easy, but this is a 60-hour game and I'm just scratching the surface. Finally, there's a cool feature in the opening battle where it looks like the player's in a large riot, and that hasn't come around yet, again in the first 3 chapters, but I hope there are more clever tricks like that coming up. Pick this up if you're a fan of tactical games, especially unit-based ones, and of course Symphony of War or Fire Emblem, maybe even Wargroove. This has a lot of tactical potential, but it also depends how aggressive the AI eventually gets or the level design is, depending on maybe the permadeath holding it back, I don't know. Still, it's a meaty campaign, so those who give it a shot will have their fill either way, whether it's something they'll enjoy or if the luster eventually wears off. Astrea, 6-sided oracles. Slay the Spire with dice. Astrea gets its inspiration from Slay the Spire, but it changes one thing that makes it a completely original game in my opinion. Players would draw 6 dice from the deck, and they also roll those dice, so the dice that the player chooses now gives one of 6 potential results. But beyond that, the dice can also be modified, the dice can be re-rolled, converted, discarded, and more. There are so many interlocking systems in this game and choices, I'm really amazed. Now, this still does feel like something you have played before. There are several characters, each character has a unique ability set, there are 3 levels, each with a boss, elite monsters, and more. It's well designed, but it also feels like you've seen most of this before, whether that's a comfortable mold or something you're trying to get away from, well, that's up to you to decide. So pick this up if you like Dice Game or Slay the Spire. This really does feel like a great fresh take on the concept, but it also feels like a safe bet for the developers, one that doesn't risk too much. Players will be comfortable here, though the dice does add some interesting and deep twists to the entire game, and I really like mixing and matching the sets. Infraspace, city skylines in space. Infraspace is a city builder but takes place in an alien world. The entire game revolves around building a functioning society. Traffic will become a problem before long with the setup, but the focus of the game is to harvest resources, study technologies, and eventually repair a giant spaceship with the materials found on the surface. Everything is done by building locations designed for certain purposes and making sure there are enough resources to cover all the needs of society. And yet I wonder what's going to be difficult here. I don't know if there's a genuine challenge. Players can build far and wide, and while that means the resource network might take longer to get going, I don't think it's actually going to harm the player in the long run. Players can drop a few wind turbines in a remote corner to power harvesters, for instance, and the game does seem to find that acceptable. As a concept, this is good, but I've seen this done far better elsewhere. Pick this up if you want to play City Skylines in space. So much of this is about routing traffic, but it also lacks much of what makes that difficult in other games because you can just keep building outwards almost infinitely. Now maybe I'm missing something and aliens will attack in the next 5 minutes, but I don't think so. At least I don't see a way to actually do that. I think this is just a relatively chill, easy city builder. You Suck at Parking, dealing with the worst part of driving. You Suck at Parking has players attempting to park in a few parking spots laid out across large levels. Players need to park the cars in spots in a limited time, being rewarded with an extra gold medal if they do it without mistakes. This sounds like a strange concept, but it's an enjoyable experience. Players will have to navigate levels, memorize patterns, and use precise movements to get their cars where they want them to go. The challenge is execution rather than pure speed. However, some levels are more annoying than others. There's a good amount of them, but players will probably get through them pretty quickly. The online multiplayer is now active again, probably for a small while because of humble choice, but honestly, looking at Steam charts, it's quite dead. When the game originally came out, you could easily find 8 players to challenge you. Now after about 2 minutes, I was only seeing 4 players, admittedly in the middle of the night. A shame because online is really fun and hectic, it's just dead. Pick this up if you want a little arcadey game where you have to park cars in a wacky location. The level design here works well and there's an enjoyable challenge that continues to raise the bar across all the levels with some clever concepts. There are also harder bonus levels, but that means players will be pushed to the limit. And that's what I have for Humble Choice September. Well, mostly. You see, there is an alpha playtest of Rue Valley. Well, you don't see because I didn't record it. It sounds interesting. It's a time loop game. I've heard people say Disco Elysium, but I don't think there's actually a direct connection between those games. Honestly, it's on Epic. It's only an alpha build. If you want to grab it, but I didn't spend any time on that one as it's not even a full game. So instead, let's take a look at is there any deal? And the answer is shockingly, yes. The only games that have sold cheaper than $12 before are You Suck at Parking, Guardians of the Galaxy, and while Cosmic Shake is cheaper, we've discussed Voodoo not really being a valid site in my opinion at least. If you remove that, it's $12.99, so if you want one of the other games, you'll be paying at least $12 for this. $12 for the bundle isn't a bad price. I should also mention Guardians of the Galaxy was on Epic for free at one point. Now with all of that, I do have to call out the previous bundle listings. You Suck at Parking isn't actually listed on that site, but it was in Jingle Jam 2022 before. That's how I got it and enjoyed it. If you bought that, you probably have a key. Astrea though is worse, being that it's been in the Humble bundle of Devious Deck Builder bundle of May 2024. Again, I say this every month, but come on Humble. As for the games, there's actually a wonderful variety here. While there is a little bit of overlap, I would say that there are 8 games in different genres. Infraspace as a traffic simulator and Stranded as a city builder might be the closest, but honestly, even those will appeal to different people. There are now 4 coupons, originally there was only 2, one for the DLC of Stranded Alien Dawn, Robots and Guardians at 55% off, and one for 20% off, Warhammer 40k, Space Marine 2. As I was writing this, I saw 2 new coupons, one for 30% off Aerial Knights, We Never Yield, and 44% off Soul Slinger, Envoy of Death, and I don't believe you can combo any of those deals with the discount you get for being a subscriber for Humble Choice, so that's all there is. Anyways, on to the tier list. As you may know, we will now judge the games and put them into buckets, dividing them up into games worth the full bundle price, the strong contenders, the average games, and the misses. Now this is based fully on opinion, not a value judgment, more focused on which I enjoyed and think you will also enjoy. And we'll skip the misses. I don't think there's anything that's bad, and of course that is a good thing. The average games though has 2 titles. We'll start with Stranded. I'm sure if I spent hours on the tutorial, watched some YouTube videos, and read some wiki articles, this would be an interesting game. The concept is good. I just don't know if the game underneath all that will be worth the ramp up time. I honestly think it's not going to be. On the other hand, Infraspace is the other average title, and this one just doesn't feel like it can challenge the player. I'm sure the traffic system will get difficult, but when it feels like you can build anywhere, honestly, how challenging would it get? And with that, we're already at the halfway point. Now, I do feel very strongly about all these titles this month, but we only have talked about 2 of them so far. The next game straddles the bottom of the strong contenders and the top of the average. It's You Suck at Parking. I got into this game when I first got it. It's a fun, inventive game, though it may not last you very long. If you want to chase the leaderboards, you're going to have a great time here. Still, I do think you'll get your money's worth with this one if you really try. Next up, we have Astrea. This is a fun roguelite. I think it's going to be a question of how much randomness players want. Astrea actually pushes this limit, but it also gives players options like having safer version of dice, high risk, or medium dice. And with enough abilities that also helps the player change their luck. It's pretty good. And finally, in the strong contenders, we have Lost Eidolons. This is just a meaty adventure. It'll last 60 hours, but the fact is it's only in strong contenders because this might not be for everyone. Even as a fan of this style of game, I'm not fully sold on it yet. Still, it is a wonderful concept, and while I have reservations, I would recommend this to any tactics fan who wants, a good adventure. And here we are, 3 titles left. They're not all headliners either, so we'll see where they land. The first up in the game's worth the full bundle price, Spongebob Squarepants The Cosmic Shake. This blew me away. I thought this would skew younger or just not as fun. It wouldn't live up to the cartoon potentially, it'll be dated, and honestly it's none of those things. This was genuinely a fun game and well made. I feel sad because not enough people experienced it, and you know what? We can fix that now. Following that up, it's the game that my daughter and I agree on, Coral Island. Just a well-designed game. I keep calling it Stardew Valley 2 because that's what I really think of it, and it's the highest praise I could give it. If you need a chill game, this is perfect for it, with a lot to explore and experience, and they're still working on it. Hopefully it can only get better. Hopefully. This leaves the game of the month, and of course, Guardians of the Galaxy. This is a real joy. It's a game that's legitimately funny, great characters, interesting locations, and an excellent design. I also say that I love that this dropped the big name actors and instead focused on the actual characters in the game. It's actually something I wish Marvel movies could do again, focusing less on stunt casting and just telling a great story. And because of that, I love this. And that's what I have for this month. I'll let Guardians of the Galaxy play on. So I want to mention that I've been making these videos for about 5 years. My first video was in October 2019, or potentially September, and that's been a long time with a lot of changes everywhere, including myself. These videos can be a joy. Every Friday when one launches, I enjoy hearing from everyone, getting feedback, being told I'm wrong, and hearing that I'm right. It's a great time. But that comes at a price of about 20 hours done on a very tight schedule. I'm up to at least 1 a.m. every night working on this. The entire process is a lot of work, and honestly, it does cause a bit of havoc on my schedule. I spend the week before this planning food for the week, I spend the week after trying to get back to my normal routine, and that's up to 3 weeks of disruption. That's not to mention work, social, and planning around this constantly does get to me. Now, I've reached out to Humble, hoping there might be a way to get a better timeline going, maybe getting the games to see a little early. Unfortunately, that's not possible, no ill will. But beyond that, the simple fact is I'm also kind of ready for a change. I don't want to stop at 5 years though. So I'm going to be doing one more final Humble choice, 5 years and a month. That means I'll still be here next month for October 2024, but after that, I think I'm going to be hanging up my Humble choice hat. I will mention that everyone who watches this video must, yes must, I'm being very assertive here, first time for everything, must subscribe to Stealthy Sarone's Humble Reviews. I'll leave a link in the description, I'll try to link his channel, I'll link his news review on screen. He does a great job covering these videos, and honestly, I watch every one of his episodes after I finish my video because I want to see where we differ. I hope you're already a fan of his, but if not, now is the best time to subscribe and show him some love that he absolutely deserves. He puts in the effort. As for my channel, I've always said the last video I'm probably going to be working on is Saints Row 2, the first game I ever worked on in the game industry. I don't know if that truly will be my last video. I haven't made that video yet, and I don't think October is going to include Saints Row 2, so I'll have to keep making videos. I will be taking a break, deciding what I want to cover on my channel, almost certainly retro games right now. There are a couple good topics in my backlog, and I'll be back. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, thank you all for watching and joining me on this journey. It has been a great 5 years. We do have one more trip to make next month. Hopefully it'll be a good time. And until then, see you next time.